Good evening. Trading the familiar comforts of the UK for the vibrant and colorful world of Mexico is a decision that might surprise many. But for David Adams, a well-known real estate broker in England, it was a choice that is undoubtedly transforming his life. In this interview, we'll delve into the reasons behind his unexpected move and discover the economic, cultural, health and investment opportunities that made Mexico, and particularly Campeche, such an appealing destination. Good evening, David. David, welcome. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and your background?
Yes, thank you. I'm an estate agent in London.
Right.
I sell luxury properties. I've been in the real estate industry for about 30 years. I was a sales director of some of the larger luxury estate agencies in London. I have a reputation for selling high-end property at high prices. I set the record price in Europe in 2013 for a 4-bedroom apartment in Hyde Park, which we sold for 700 million Mexican pesos.
Quite a lot of money, right? Now tell me, what attracted you the most to Campeche when you decided to move here? Because Campeche is somehow lost in the world.
It was hard to find. I mean, I found it by accident because I'm very interested in Mayan ruins, and I came here to explore some of the best examples of Mayan ruins. But Campeche immediately captured me because you have this citadel with a castle wall around it, a city that's intact with the most extraordinary 18th century architecture. And I was shocked to find something that was so beautiful. I mean, we have many UNESCO World Heritage listed towns in Europe, Bath, for example. But Europe has fought many wars, and so they have bomb damage, and so
right.
There are pieces missing where you have 1970s bits of architecture in between.
Right.
And to find a square mile of Campeche within the city walls, completely and totally intact, really surprised me. It's quite an extraordinary place.
You've been walking around the city, and could you say that it's a well-preserved city?
It's a very well preserved city. I believe in 1998, 1999, your governor had great vision.
Right.
And he came through and he offered to paint and repair the plasterwork, all of the fancy 18th and 19th century plasterwork of all of the buildings. And all the cobbled streets are still intact. They haven't been tarmacked over, and all the wires have been taken down and put underground. So it is like walking around an 18th century town. It is quite extraordinary.
Right. Of course, this has an impact on quality life. How would you describe the quality of life in Campeche compared to other cities you've lived in?
It's very relaxed. You can walk everywhere.
Isn't that too much relaxed?
It's not too much relaxed. I mean, there's a population of 300,000 people, Campeche, right. And so it has an enormous range of recreational facilities. But it's a very relaxed town to walk around. It feels very safe. So there aren't stress levels here. And you can see in the faces of the people walking around, they're happy and very polite and welcoming. So it's a very relaxing place to be. And when I return to Europe, as I have to every other month for work,
right.
I feel the stress levels coming back on. Whether I'm going back into London or Paris, I feel the stress levels coming back on.
Right. Okay. How has your experience with the local community been, and how easy was it to integrate? Because let's face it, Campeche and the United Kingdom, London, they are completely different worlds.
They are. I mean, I was surprised because my Spanish is poor. I'm taking lessons,
right?
But my Spanish is poor, so I didn't expect to be welcomed in the way that I have. I didn't expect within months to be sitting around dinner tables of Campechian families and being introduced to their sons and daughters and their families. And it's an extraordinarily welcoming society, and everyone is very helpful too. So I've been stopped by the police twice.
Yeah, you were telling me that.
Twice
yesterday.
I've been here.
Right.
And if you're stopped by the police in Europe, it's something to worry about because it's going to cost you a lot of money. Both the times the police stopped me here, it was to offer help and guidance. Once because I'd gone into a one-way system the wrong way.
Right.
And so the policeman said, follow me out. I can take you back out to the circular road. And another because I was in an isolated area looking for a beach. And so the policeman pointed the way to the beach and suggested where there was a better beach a bit further away. So the people here are very, very friendly and helpful. And I sort of remember that from the 1970s and 1980s, growing up in New Zealand, Australia, England. I sort of remember that we had that in society, and it's something now that I think in the West we've lost.
Right. What do you think that happened? What happened? Why did you lose that?
I'm not sure. I think Campechians are a happy people.
Right.
The birth rate here is above two per couple. I mean, it's fallen dramatically in Germany, France, Spain, and England. The populations are not replacing themselves. I mean, the average age of people in Germany, England, Spain is around 45, 46. The average age of Campechians is around 29.
Right.
And I think people have families and they bring children into the world because they're happy, because they feel safe, because they feel secure. I think people stop having children when they're financially insecure.
Right.
And so I think that this is obviously a very comfortable and safe place for people to live. And I think we've lost that in various parts of the West, which have become more of a rat race as couples have to work hard to keep their head above water because of the cost of living and the high taxation.
Right. You were talking about security. And apparently that it is not the narrative that you can find in newspapers around the world when they talk about Mexico.
No, I mean, it was extraordinary when I first came to Mexico. Because I had watched the news, I thought that it was crime-ridden. I thought that it was dangerous. I remember telling my sons when we first came to Mexico on holiday to look at Mayan ruins, you should take your watches off and leave your watches at home.
Right.
And this was the narrative that had been sold to me, that Mexico was somehow dangerous. Of course, violent crime in downtown Campeche, I can't speak for the other parts of Mexico, but in downtown Campeche, it's virtually unheard of. And of course, in London now, sadly, you know, daily on the news, you've got stabbings, and we all know 5 people who've had their phones taken off them in the street. I've had my phone stolen from me in Berkeley Square.
Wow.
And the crime is unheard of here. Do you know, the other day I accidentally left 2 windows of my car open.
Right.
I was parked on one of the main roads leading into the square. I didn't go back to my car for 24 hours. I'd left the windows open because I'd come home from a dinner at 1 o'clock in the morning and hadn't realised I left them open. I had money sitting on the centre dashboard. And I came back to my car and it was still there.
That's quite amazing.
It is amazing. So there's a false narrative. I mean, maybe there are parts of Mexico, I don't know where it is dangerous, but Campeche is one of those, certainly a lot safer than anywhere that I've visited in Europe. Certainly a lot safer.
Right, right. Now, what cultural aspects of Campeche have surprised you the most since you arrived?
I didn't really understand what the word culture was until I came to Mexico.
Right.
I understood that people spoke different languages and they had different habits. But the culture here is something extraordinary, and it's something that we've lost in the West. You still have the family unit. I mean, the divorce rate here is very low. It's 70% of marriages are still together. Much of the West, it's under 50% of marriages stay together. You still have the family unit. People care for the extended family. Friday nights are family days, and you see families dining out in the town. And people are very much wanting to help others. I mean, it was extraordinary when I got on the Tren Maya and we were queuing to get on the train. Everyone was saying, no, after you. No, you get on first. No, you have the seat. And when they got up to leave the train, everyone was saying goodbye to each other, have a happy journey, to people that they didn't know. And I sort of remember that from New Zealand in the 1970s. We've lost that in the West now. The West, sadly, in many places, it's every man for himself, especially for trying to board a train to get a seat.
Right. So that doesn't happen anymore in Britain, for example.
In the quiet rural areas, perhaps you might find it, but certainly not in cities like Campeche.
So do you feel safe when you walk here in Campeche?
My sons commented that they thought it surprising when we walked along the Malecon, along the seafront.
Right.
Of course, when they arrived here, they were in a different time zone. So we were up at 5:30 in the morning. We were walking along the seafront in order to look at the sunrise. And they thought it was odd to see so many single women out jogging without a care in the world.
Right.
And that's sadly something now you can't do in many parts of Europe.
Well, now I suppose that opens a lot of doors. What opportunities do you see in Campeche for those considering investing or settling here?
The most extraordinary opportunity I've seen in my lifetime. I have worked in many areas, the Gold Coast of Australia and London and various rural parts of England, where there have been major infrastructural improvements. So we had motorways put right across England in the 1970s and 1980s, and we saw a huge property boom in the 1980s. As you know, the Tren Mare, which connects cities around the Yucatan, 1,500 kilometers of railway, has just opened in December of this year. There's new motorways that have opened, there are new ports going in, there are new airports. And with infrastructural development, you generally do see the property industry move. And indeed, last year in Campeche, we saw 11% rise in the value of property. And this year, we've seen another 11.2% rise in the value of property. It's coming from a very low base. The average price of property in Campeche is between 60 and 70,000 pounds, 80,000 US dollars. So it's back where it was in England in the 1980s. So the investment opportunity here for young people is to have the ability that your parents had when they bought properties in the 1980s, and to watch the growth of property. And the property you can buy here is extraordinary. You know, for 350 to 400,000 US dollars, you can buy a 3,000 square foot colonial with 22-foot high ceilings, or you can buy an apartment overlooking a beach. And that can't last, because if you look at the other side of the Yucatan, where they had infrastructural development several years ago, it's now quite hard to be on a beach for less than $1 million US. And if you look in the northern parts of Mexico, south of the American border, you're looking at 2 or 3 million to be on the beach. So to be on a beach here, to be in the center of town for under 500,000 US dollars, I think is quite an extraordinary opportunity. And the yields also are good. So if you buy flats in places like London or Paris, you know, you might be looking at a 2.5% to 4% rental return. I mean, here you can get yields of 10%. Some Airbnbs are 15, 16%.
And what is happening in the UK, for example? We were talking yesterday about the minus 22 growth.
Yes, but English property has in London has taken a bit of a hit. Successive governments have raised stamp duty to 17%, 17.5% on central London property. Stamp duty here is under 1%, isn't it? Right. In comparison, it used to be 1% in England in 1998, but they've raised it considerably. So prices in Westminster in the last year have fallen 22% in value. So you asked me what the investment opportunity is.
Yeah.
If you buy over here, you're getting 11% growth per annum. In London, your asset is a declining asset, because they're looking, increasingly the governments are looking at ways of extracting tax
Tax.
from property.
Right. Well, it is not only investment opportunities, but also from your perspective, what are the main economic advantages of living in Campeche compared to other cities or countries?
Campeche is an extraordinary state. I came here to look at Mayan ruins, and it has some of the most stupendous Mayan ruins at Calakmul, and I've probably pronounced that incorrectly, and I apologize. Please
fine.
correct me if I get the pronunciation wrong. And Uxmal, which
There you
is
go.
an extraordinary Mayan site to visit. But what surprised me about Campeche is it takes more than 5 hours to drive from one end to the other. It's bigger than Switzerland. Switzerland has 9 million people.
Right.
It is bigger than Belgium. Belgium has 11 million people. And there are less than 1 million people living in the States. So you're looking at a population density which is less than Roman Britain 2,000 years ago. And you have this extraordinary rainforest from one end to the other. The rainforest on the Yucatan and going down into Guatemala is the second largest after the Amazon, with this tremendous biodiversity of species of different coloured parrots and jaguars and monkeys. It's like one big park, unpopulated park. And you can very quickly, driving south from Campeche, within 10 minutes, you can be in a coastal wilderness. And some of the beaches south of Campeche, Playa Tortugas, for example, correct me if my pronunciation
You're
wrong.
just doing fine.
The beaches are they look prehistoric. I mean, there's no high-rise, there's no buildings, there's just coconut palms and the sand and the surf, and there's little pollution. Extraordinary park to play in.
David, now, talking about infrastructure, we know communications are extremely important for future investment. I think you are familiar now with the Tren Maya and all the communications efforts of the current government, the current administration. What do you think about that?
Wherever I worked around the world in the past, across Europe and in Australasia, whenever there's been major infrastructure development, there's always been a following business, industrial boom and a residential boom. When they put the train through from Paris to Bordeaux, within the next year, property prices leapt 30%. When they put a tunnel underneath the Devil's Punch Bowl from the link from London down to the south coast in Chichester, I was the director of Hamptons at the time, the prices in Chichester jumped by about 25 or 30%. There's two extraordinary infrastructure projects just being completed in Mexico. Extraordinary on a worldwide basis, not just for Mexico. I mean, the Tren Maya is 1,550 kilometers around the Yucatan. It's been built in about 5 years for about $1.5 billion.
That's right.
US dollars. It was delivered on time. I mean, this compares with HS2 between London and Birmingham in the northern England, which has been planned and has been worked on since 1998. 25 years later, still not delivered for £50 billion. Well, as a comparison.
Right.
The Tren Maya, I've travelled on it. I caught the train from.
Have you?
I went from Campeche up round Merida, around the Yucatan Peninsula to Cancun. It left on time, it arrived on time. Fantastic service, modern railways, great carriages, plenty of sitting room, place to hang your coat, a place to plug your phone in. I was only travelling economy. It was an amazing, it's like being in a business class airline seat. There was a catering on board. And so, of course, this has just been delivered to Campeche on time, and the extensions are going to be delivered shortly. So with this infrastructure, I think it's really going to put Campeche on the map because, of course, 80% of tourists presently fly into Cancun, and this links Campeche with Cancun, and I think it'll bring more traffic this way. But it's not the only significant project in Mexico. I was shocked to discover that we've just opened in Mexico a railway from Veracruz, the port, across the isthmus to the Pacific.
Right.
And this is going to cut out the Panama Canal. I mean, the Panama Canal at the moment is fraught with difficulty in getting through it, the time to get through it. I mean, they charge extraordinary prices for ships to go from one end to the other, $1 million for a ship to go from one end to the other. The Mexicans can unload from a ship onto the railway, ship across this railway to the Pacific, and load onto a ship faster than you can go through the Panama Canal, and at a fraction of the cost. And of course, this is going to bring infrastructural development to all of the ports around the Gulf, because it's going to be suddenly a major destination for shipping. So just south of Campeche, Ceiba
Playa, right?
There's already a major port infrastructure there for the cement industry, and that's going to only be developed further. So at the moment, I mean, you could tell that the Mexican economy is going to absolutely boom, because you've got 120 million people. You've got the world's biggest market adjoining Mexico,
Right.
in America. And you've got this infrastructural development, the likes of which we haven't seen in places like England since the 1970s or 1980s.
Well, that is a very interesting context, because considering what you just said, what types of properties or real estate projects do you think are most attractive to investors who might be interested in Campeche?
Around the world, it's extraordinarily difficult to get into an historic centre for under $1 million US. It's impossible to get on the beach for under $1 million US. And you can do both in Campeche. So you can live in the historic centre of Campeche, in a walkable town, which is stunning to look at, with lots of restaurants and artisans and craft shops. Everything's within walking distance. An amazing market where you can buy enormous avocados for half the price that you can buy them in Europe. You can do that, or you can go and live on the beach. You can live at the Campeche Country Club. There's a beach and golf club. There's a new development that I'm aware of down towards El Sombrero, where you can buy coastal plots of land with the most extraordinary views of the sea. And you can do all this for well under $1 million. I mean, in some places you can do it for under $500,000. I mean, there are properties in central Campeche you can buy for 250 to 350,000. I'm talking, substantial,
Right.
2,000, 3,000 square foot properties, 200 to 300 square meter family homes. Very hard to do that in many other places in the world.
So there are many opportunities for investors, as you were saying.
Sadly, I don't think it will last long, and I hope what Campeche can do.
So they have to hurry up.
Well, I hope what Campeche can do. What's lovely about central Campeche is there's lots of Mexican families living here that have been here for generations.
Right.
So it still retains very much its Mexican culture. And somehow I hope that Campeche can keep hold of that, because it's very special.
Okay. What would you say to Europeans who still have doubts about visiting or living in Mexico due to the perception they have in their home countries?
I think many Europeans are looking at moving at the moment. I have many clients who are looking at leaving England because of concerns over tax and safety and violence.
That's sad, isn't it?
It is sad. And they are looking at moving to Italy. They're looking to go to Dubai. They're looking to go to Monaco. A lot of them are coming over to Caribbean islands. What I would say is you have to include Mexico on that list of places.
You were talking about Dubai?
To consider.
Monaco, you said?
Dubai, Monaco. I've got clients leaving for Italy. I've got clients leaving for Africa. I have clients, and quite a number of clients, coming over to the Caribbean.
Right, but they should include Campeche.
You have to come and see this part of the world, because there's huge business opportunities. Obviously, with all the infrastructure that's going in. I mean, Mexico has an extraordinary economy. It's a major silver producer. It's produced more silver in the whole of humanity than anyone else. It's the highest silver producer. So for those that are worried about future currencies, with the BRICS talking about producing commodity-backed currencies. Mexico is a big silver producer. Campeche itself is a very large producer of agriculture to the States,
Right.
and it's a big oil producer. So I think per capita, I think Campeche is actually the richest state in terms of revenue
Right.
produced
The
per
capital,
person,
right.
because you only got 1 million people here, and you have new licenses being offered to the oil companies with big discoveries offshore.
Right. Well, so it's been quite a change for you, right? How has your life changed since moving to Campeche? And what would you recommend to someone considering doing the same?
Well, I'm a lot more relaxed, and I'm a lot more healthy.
Right.
But the food here is extraordinary.
Okay.
The variety of food here is extraordinary.
We're very proud of that.
Yes,
You
I
gotta
mean,
tell me.
you should be, because there's such a fusion of different cultures here in terms of the Mayan, the Spanish, the American influences. I go to the market and I buy a range of fruits and vegetables that are taste sensations. And you go back to Europe and you bite into a banana or an avocado, and it's not the same. It doesn't have the same incredible flavour.
Right.
And so you can eat well here. You can live very well,
Right.
and it's cheaper. So
Much
your grocery bill is 70% of what it would be in England. You can eat out in smart restaurants here for a fraction of what it costs in England. And you can eat cheaply as well. I mean, you can go out and eat for a couple of dollars for a meal. So there's a great variety of culinary delights in Campeche.
Have you tried all of them?
I have. I've
many
been to
of them?
Maganzo. I've been to not nearly enough.
All right.
I'm working my way up Calle 59.
Okay.
I've been to several places, and it's easier to experiment when my boys aren't here, because of course my boys just want to go and eat pizza or burgers. I want the full Mexican experience, and so and the fish here, the variety of fish,
Right.
and you can buy fresh fish in the market. You can buy it off the fishermen down at the wharf. It's quite extraordinary.
Right.
The food delicacies here.
Excellent. Before we jump to the final question, we had a conversation yesterday, and you were talking about something about the health infrastructure. I think it's really important for you to mention that.
Yes, well, that was another shock, because the media in Europe had taught me that the Mexican health system was not safe. And so shall I tell the anecdote of what happened to me? Yeah. So
If you feel comfortable with it.
sure, I had a
go.
lesion on the skin. Because of my red hair, I'm always looking for
Right.
potential skin cancers. So I had a lesion last August. I went to my doctor and he said, it looks like skin cancer. So we need to book you into the English medical system, the NHS. And the waiting time is about 6 or 7 months before we can get it seen.
But it is free.
It's free, but it was 6 or 7 months. I saw a hospital here with a sign outside saying they had a specialist cancer unit.
Here in Campeche.
In Campeche. And I was only here for 2 weeks, and so at the time. So I walked in and I said, look, I know you're busy, but if you walked into an English hospital, they probably wouldn't talk to you for about 4 hours.
Right.
So I walked in and I said to the girl on reception, I've got a lesion here. Is there someone I can make an appointment to see it? And she said, do you have an appointment? And I said, no, I'm sorry, I don't. And she said, well, this was about 9:30 in the morning. She said, well, we have a major cancer specialist here at 5 o'clock this afternoon. I can book you in to see him if you like.
A bit
So,
late.
so that's
Sorry.
it's extraordinary. So I said to my wife, I'm going back at 5 o'clock to see this cancer specialist. And I went in there and he had a look at it and he said, you need to have that taken off, because with skin cancer, if you get it early, there's no risk to you. But if you leave it and it goes into the bloodstream and then into the lymph glands, it can affect your health. And so when I said I got an appointment with the NHS in 6 or 7 months to take it off, he said, well, you can't leave skin cancer for 6 or 7 months. It's dangerous. He said it needs to come off now. And I said, well, I'm only here for two weeks. And he said, well, we have a theatre available. And obviously it's in a delicate place on your face, so we'll have to do surgery. carefully. He said, well, we can do this on Thursday evening at 5 o'clock. So this was from Tuesday to Thursday. And so I had it taken off. And a fantastic piece of work. You can't see any mark.
I cannot see
It was
anything.
quite a big lesion. And it cost me less than $200 US. And of course, I could have waited for the English system and perhaps died, and it would have been free. But here, the hospital was super modern. The equipment had all been bought recently. It was amazing equipment. The theatre was super modern. The service was amazing. Waiting to go into surgery was like sitting in the first class lounge, in that they were, "Can I offer you tea, Mr. Adams? Would you like the newspaper?" So it was quite an extraordinary experience and not what I expected. So the health services here, I believe, are better than we're used to in England.
Right. What are your favorite places or activities in Campeche that you would recommend to someone visiting or moving here?
Well, of course, everyone wants to come and see us now. We're in this paradise. They see my posts on Facebook and they say, "Wow, where are you? Can we come?" And so I'm now a tour guide. So of course, I always start with Edsna, the main ruin, inland from Campeche. It's about 45 minutes away. And then a trip up to Uxmal. Uxmal,
right,
is absolutely essential, because the pyramids there are just extraordinary and so intact. We walk around the city wall
right,
at night or at dawn. It costs about $2 to walk around the city wall. It's fantastic because you can look down into people's houses and gardens.
Yes.
The views are quite amazing. We always have to include one of the amazing prehistoric-looking beaches to the south of Campeche, and of course you end up dining out every night on Calle 59 in a different restaurant, tasting a different fare. So I mean, there's lots to do here. Surprisingly, people always plan to come here for 2 or 3 days. If they come here for 6 days, we always say at the end of the 6 days, well, you're now going to need to come back for another 6 days because we didn't manage to do this
right, okay,
or this. So there's lots to see and do here,
right,
for the tourist.
excellent. I would like you to say something about the people who live in Campeche. We are very proud of it. This December festival, and you were mentioning that yesterday.
Well,
Could you tell us something about it?
Yes, I mean,
From your perspective.
I was shocked because we were here in December and I bought a house and I went to pay my rates. My rates were about £160, $200. So for a similar size house in England, I pay £5,000. And for my £5,000 in England, I don't get any sort of service at all. I'm lucky if they pick the rubbish up once every 2 weeks. In Campeche, you have a series of amazing festivals. The one in December, every night of the week in the town square, a short distance from us here, they had orchestral extravaganzas, huge orchestras and choirs singing Beethoven, amazing entertainment, bands, and it was all free. So the whole square was laid out in chairs. All the families came together, husbands, wives, daughters, sons, grandparents, and they all sat and watched this extraordinary cultural experience. And you know, it was very good. I mean, I have been to the major opera houses in Paris and London, and it was of an extraordinary quality as well. I mean, the entertainment was really quite fantastic.
It's been a pleasure speaking with you, David. Your enthusiasm for Mexico is contagious, and I'm sure your story will inspire many others to consider this beautiful country and city as their retirement home. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us. Thank you. Good night.